welcome back to my channel. Thanks so much for joining me. I know I've been gone for a few weeks now, but with the fussy baby and computer problems and the holidays, what else is a girl to do? So anyway, I'm back and I'm really excited to share my December daily album with you guys. I've been working on this. I love this project. Been working on it all month, and I thought that when I was over, I'd be super sad to be done with the process, but I'm kind of like relieved and happy to move on to the next thing and go back to regular scrapbooking. So I'm excited to let you know that things are kind of getting back on schedule for me, and I'll have a new heritage video this Saturday, so be sure to tune back in for that. So I want to keep this quick and just kind of breeze through this. So here's a look at my cover. This is like one of those paper studio albums that I got from Hobby Lobby. It was about $3 with a 50% off coupon, and then I just embellished it here. I was kind of indecisive and went back and forth about how I wanted to do this. So it was a craft album, but I went ahead and painted it white with acrylic paint, and then I used this U for our last name. That's from the Ali Edwards December Daily Kit, and then embellished it with that. Stamped some stars in white ink on there. I embossed these Studio Calico wood veneer stars. These numbers are from A Beautiful Mess from their Messy Box subscription, and then I just adhered these down. Now this one came off and it took some of the paint with it, and I anticipate this is going to happen, as this album is looked at more and more, and that's fine. So now I know next year just to go ahead and buy the album from Ali Edwards, and don't worry about decorating the front of it. So let's take a look inside. Another thing that I learned while working on this album was that this rubber banner here, it kind of took off sorry for the glare, it took off the gold from this text here. So while I was working on it, I had like a little piece of paper that I washi taped over it so that it wouldn't rub off anymore. So now that it's no longer a working album, I think that it will be fine on this shelf. So this is my reason why statement. It just basically introduces a project and says, documenting our 25 days of the 2015 Christmas season, the traditions, family time, and little moments that make celebrating Jesus' birth the most wonderful time of year. And then I echoed that sentiment over here with this transparency. And then I loved this cable knit pattern paper that came in the Ali Edwards kit. I should mention I used the Ali Edwards main kit, the Jasmine Jones mini kit, and then just some bits and pieces from my stash. Mostly things from the Beautiful Mess Messy Box subscription that I hadn't used throughout the year. Mostly metallic things. So basically I pulled anything metallic from my stash to use for this project because I have trouble using it for like real life layouts. So anyway, this is day one. I started off with a 6x8 photo. I love the large photos in this album. I printed these at Target. I never used them as a printing service before. It was the best place locally to get 6x8 prints, so that's what I did, and I'm still like getting used to the color temperature and everything when they print them versus when I print them here at home. So, but I'm actually pleasantly surprised with the quality. So here, I just printed out a large picture of my Dickens Christmas Village that I put up. I haven't actually done it in a long time, and that's what I'm documenting here, as well as the fact that these are my grandmother's pieces here that I inherited from her. So this is the first time I'd ever put them up. And then I just cut down one of the 6x8 pieces of paper and just use some. I'm not sure where these are from. I got them from Joann's. Some tile stickers, and then one of the epoxy words from the Ali Edwards kit. Day two was really more of the same, just putting up my Christmas village, so I'm documenting that here. I also took a screenshot of what I was listening to on my phone. That's the Pandora app, and so I just took a screenshot of this album. I happen to love the album cover art, so it worked great in here. This silver star is from the A Beautiful Mess Messy Box, and then I just kind of layered 4x6 cards up on here. Day three, I took a cue from Ali Edwards and used the log book that she included with her main kit, and I use that to journal the story of the day. I put two 4x4 photos on top of each other. On this day, I happened to go to a crop at our church that we have monthly, and then my husband took my son over to his parents and took a photo for me of him passed out on the game table. So I just kind of documented that here. On day 4, I loved this pattern paper, and originally when I started this project, I had never done this before, the December daily. I thought that I would do more layouts like this, and then so I bought a ton of 6x8 page protectors, but it turns out I actually didn't do that at all. So this is the only one that looks like this, but this was my favorite piece of pattern paper from the kit. And then I do have journaling here. It talks about National Cookie Day, and I think I need to go over in a white because it's pretty illegible. So so look at day 4, and it's just a really super grainy black and white selfie of my family hanging out. On this day, this is kind of day 5, and I really didn't have anything to document on this day. I was in bed, I wasn't feeling good. So we had taken these professional photos just before Thanksgiving, and we got them back on the 5th. So I thought, perfect. You know, I'll include them as my thing for December 5th. So these are just a few pictures of my son when we had those photos taken. And then here's the story about how, you know, he had just woken up from a nap and was in no mood to take pictures. So this is like one of the 2 photos that turned out decent. So I wanted to feature that in here, and then I took a couple of outtakes too. I printed these at home in my Canon selfie, and then this is the 5x7 that the photo studio had printed for us. I just layered a few embellishments here. Stars are a recurring theme in here, just like in Allie Edwards' album, so you'll see a lot of stars. So these are the silver glitter ones from the Allie Edwards kit, and then these are from A Beautiful Mess. The next day, this was Sunday the 6th, so this is a picture of our sanctuary at church. The kids had their Christmas pageant, and so I used the tag and added some jingle bells and ribbon just to note that the day. This is the program from that Sunday morning along with our bulletin, so just wanted to include that in there. Our children's pastor did a really good job of creating that, so I wanted to feature it. Also on the 6th, I'm documenting here a church party that we had at our pastor's house, and just our gift exchange using the Allie Edwards main kit pieces. On this day, on the 7th, it's a 2-page spread. I didn't have much going on. I think it was a weekday, so these movies have been on repeat in our house since even before Thanksgiving, so I'm just kind of documenting that. I always have to watch these movies and a few others to make it really feel like Christmas is here. And then my son and I went to Hobby Lobby one day just to get out of the house, and that's what these photos are of. We went over to the garland section, and I took a picture of him. I embossed the number 7 with a stamp from A Beautiful Mess. It's just this little pattern here, and I thought that it would maybe look like snow or something. The red was really bold on this photo, and I wanted to kind of tone it down a little bit, so I did that with some embossing powder. This page I really like, just kind of like a breathing spot in the album, and I think it really goes well with the story for the 9th. For the 8th, I just straight up copied Allie Edwards and took some of the packaging from her box that the kits came in. So this is how it was packaged, and I took some of the packaging from the bottom here and used it. I punched holes in it and used it to tell the story of the 8th. I heat embossed some stars onto the number 8, just like Allie had also, and I'm just documenting here how we put lights up on our house for the first time. Day 9 was pretty cool. This pastor gave this presentation of how our modern day Santa Claus came to be. So he, you know, came in dressed up as St. Nicholas and ended up dressing as Santa at the end of the presentation. I was not expecting him to, like, you know, have kids approach him and sit on his lap afterwards. And so my son freaked out anyway. And So I went ahead and printed this in black and white because I didn't want it to take away from the real Santa photo that he would take later on in the month. And then I used this card from the Jasmine Jones mini kit, which I loved, and it says I have been naughty or nice, and then the explanation. So I just really quickly wrote from my son's point of view, Santa, even though I have been waking up several times a night and will only go back to sleep on my dad, I have still been a very good boy. And then it's signed Owen. So I just wanted to kind of like include other voices in this album. Obviously, my my 1-year-old son did not write this or even communicate it to me, but I kind of like to keep things like silly and lighthearted in here, so that's what I did. And then this card is just kind of talking about like his presentation and how Santa came to be today. So I thought that was pretty cool. On day 10, this is one of my favorite pages. This photo here, we're just it's talking about how we went to this man's house nearby, and he has just Christmas stuff everywhere in his yard. It's like it's a sight to see. So I just talked here about how the police closed the street down and everything, and then I talked about my favorite part of the whole experience was this manger scene that was tucked around the side of the house, and he had all of these angels in this whole area that were outside of the frame of this photo, like just singing around this scene, and I thought it was beautiful. So I took the epoxy word that said Noel, and before I stuck this down, I'm just gonna let you know what a nerd I am. I looked up what the word Noel meant to be sure online, and I was pleased with the definition, so I added it there because I felt like it was appropriate. On the next day, I didn't have a large photo to go here, so I used one of my favorite 6x8 papers from the Allie Edwards kit. As far as foundation pages for this album, I really didn't make them. What I did was I had all the page protectors in here, and I pulled out my absolute favorite things from the kits that I used to make sure that I would see them and use them, and this was one of them. So I knew that foundation pages, like in the traditional sense, wouldn't work for me, and so that's kind of how I made them work for me. This is just kind of like a divider to break up what happened on this day. I just used a piece of vellum from my stash and then layered this Story of Today banner over the wood veneer star, and I adhered it with my Scotch quick dry adhesive, and you might be able to, you can barely see the adhesive on the back, and I don't care anyway. But I'm just documenting the story for this day. I totally copied Allie again and did this flip up method of journaling that she did. I really enjoyed watching her videos every morning, and I thought that I would be super bummed when the month was over, but I was kind of ready to be done with the project. So on this day, we had gone over to my in-laws' house for my father-in-law's birthday. He and his wife went out for the night, and my husband and I surprised them while they were out and hung their Christmas lights. So when they got home, like way late that night, their house was all lit up for them. So I just kind of documented that here, and then I took a screenshot of my mother-in-law's text to me at like 11 o'clock at night, saying thank you. So just, that really is a favorite memory now, so it's a cute story. On here, I'm just documenting a date afternoon that my husband and I had. We went to go see his friend play. He's a musician, went to go see his friend play at a pub. I used this 12 tag for this day, and then on the back I wrote my journaling, and I also got these snowflakes at Michael's on like super sale, embossed them, heat embossed them with white, and then just wrote my journaling in there. Unfortunately, I didn't put the hole in far enough on the tag, so it ripped immediately when I turned it the first time, so I might have to put a reinforcer on there in case this one goes the way of the top hole. The next day, it was just a regular Sunday at church. I think our teens did this service for us, so I'm just kind of documenting that. I do have a hidden photo to put in here. Behind here, we actually were stranded on the side of the road. We ran out of gas, and so that's journaled in here, and then I have a picture of me and my son standing, on the side of the road under the overpass in the rain, whatever. So I want to include that photo in here just as kind of like a pull-out thing. The next day, it was a random weekday. I didn't really have anything like Christmassy to document, so um, I just took a picture out of our window. This is a view that we see often, and I kind of wrote a little note about um, this is a view most nights as Owen sinks himself to sleep in the back seat. We just left my in-laws' house, and we're heading home. And to make sure that my son is totally asleep by the time we get home, we usually overshoot our house and then drive down to the airport because it's all highway, and just to lull him to sleep and make sure that he's totally out. So I'm documenting that because we do that probably 4 nights a week. Head over to my in-laws, so I'm just documenting that on that night. On the 15th, not much to say here. It's actually addressed to my son. I'm talking about, how my husband and I are Christmas shopping for bar stools for our home, and my husband is a perfectionist, doesn't do anything halfway, so just writing that here for my son to maybe read later on and realize. So this is actually a picture of me sitting on a bar stool that my husband had built as a prototype. So here's day 16. I really didn't have a story to tell, so I just had this picture of my son poking around our Christmas tree and added this little tag down here that says, Owen, Christmas tree inspector reporting for duty. The 16 is from Crate Paper's Bundled Up Thicker pack, and then I had this little Brad. It's from Michaels. It's a bunch of different like Christmassy things. I put that through this card, and it was just kind of like an accident that it ended up sitting on top of the 6 perfectly, but I love it. It looks like the 6 is wearing a little Santa hat. On the next day, this album kind of like forced me to like kind of make things happen and do things that I normally wouldn't do. For instance, making Christmas cookies. So I learned that I can't make sugar cookies. It just didn't work. It's too humid here. So what I did instead was I made macarons. So I just kind of document that here. I used the Bah Humbug card, and I, talked about how much difficulty I had making these simple sugar cookies. And so to boost my confidence, I ended up making these mint and Nutella macarons, which were dynamite. Now, the green in the photo is just so bright because these macarons were so bright. So what I did was I took some of the vellum from Chamel's Christmas Magic collection, I think that's what it's called, and I layered it over that to kind of tone it down, and it gave it kind of a yellow tint, but I don't care at this point. This was like one of the second to last page that I did for this project because it kind of had me stumped, so at that point I just didn't care. I layered this wood veneer circle from the Ali Edwards main kit onto this paper. It's from Basic Gray's Juniper Berry. Like towards the middle of the month, I ended up getting that collection in the mail, and so this sticker, this paper, and this paper are all from that collection. Day 18, I got my fuse tool out and played around a little bit. I had never used it, so I created a little sequin pocket here and put some wood veneer stars. I didn't really have anything to go on the back of this page, so I just used one of my favorite pattern papers from the Ali Edwards kit and then put the number 18 over here. I just included a quick photo that I had taken of my husband and my son, and then I documented about it. My husband is on this like Instagram kick. He never posts anything, but all of a sudden he's doing like a post a day. On the next day, we have the return of this sequin pocket, and then my husband and I just took a selfie on the way to a Christmas party of some friends of ours. So I included the invite here, and then I used the big red numbers for the date. And then I loved this paper. I wasn't sure how I was going to use it, so I'm really glad that it turned out this way, that I was able to use it on the reverse of this invite. And then I used just some bits and pieces here to embellish this. I'm not crazy about it, but it is what it is, so it's going to stay like this. This card is from the July A Beautiful Mess Messy Box subscription, and I didn't really have a use for it regularly. I don't really do pocket page scrapbooking anymore, so these cards are kind of sitting around unused, so I'm glad I got to put it to use. These red phrase stickers are from Studio Calico's Felix 7-paper Felix collection. I got a couple of those. They're not great quality, so just be aware of that if you're interested in them. I so basically took pictures of us playing these reindeer games that they had set up, and it was really a lot of fun. The next page is Sunday morning again. So this was a picture of the choir that had been assembled to put on this presentation. I just used this card from the Allie Edwards main kit, and I totally copied Geraldine on this card. She had this, the same card and then put wood veneer stars all over the place, and I loved it, and I pinned it, and I totally copied it. So Geraldine Sy totally inspired that. This card, the choir was giving out after our service, so and there was a candy cane attached to the back of it. So naturally, I took the candy cane off, ate it immediately, and then included this in the album too. On the back, I just layered 6x8, cut down a piece of 6x8 paper, and then put the number 20 on the back. These are from A Beautiful Mess Messy Box. I think that's from the very first one. On this page, it's a continuation of the same day. So my journaling up here talks about what's happening over on the left with in the morning at that church service, and then the bottom is how I went over to my in-laws and I made my Christmas candy as a top secret family recipe. So what I did was I included this little washi tag right here, and then top secret candy recipe. So I have all the instructions and ingredients there. And then on the next page, kind of cheated here. I did not wrap presents on the 21st, but I took a picture to make it look like I did. I didn't wrap presents until Christmas Eve. So actually I think I think I took this photo and then immediately came over here to my desk and did this spread for the next couple of days. So everything that I'm journaling about, wrapping presents, burning a balsam and cedar scented candle, listening to Louis Armstrong, drinking a vanilla porter, that was all what I was doing while I worked on this book. So don't tell anyone, okay? Okay, great. This is from the Jasmine Jones kit. This Let Your Heart Be Light. I love that sentiment, and I love the branches, and I wanted to echo the branches over here on this page. So this is the official Santa visit. So I used this 6x8 sheet from the Allie Edwards main kit, and then this was the free 4x6 photo we got from Bass Pro when my son visited Santa. I don't know if you can see that, but he freaked out, and there was a collective aw from all of the parents behind us. So I felt terrible taking any pictures while my kid was freaking out, so I just used the ones that they gave us. I used this wood veneer tree from the Allie Edwards kit, and then used these really old Dear Lizzie tile stickers for the date, and then I put a gold star at the top of the tree, naturally. This also happened to be the first day of winter, so I used this card from the Jasmine Jones mini kit, and I wrote a little note to Winter, saying, what's the deal, it's 82 degrees outside. I'm not expecting a white Christmas, but maybe a breezy 70 degrees, okay? So I live in South Florida, and we will never have a white Christmas, so I've made my peace with that, but I just can't deal with 82 degrees. So I'm just letting that out right here. This day actually was the last day I finished in the album. It gave me a little bit of a hard time because, I was nearing the end of the project and stories weren't really presenting themselves. So fortunately, it was my son's 13-month birthday. He turned 13 months old. So I went ahead, his name's Owen, just used the O from the Allie Edwards kit, and then this little piece of holly, it's like a transparency thing, stapled it on there, and then I wrote a little wish list. So these are just a couple of my photos, of my son from that day, eating a ton of Cheerios and just hanging out with his feet on the dining room table. I also wrote a little wish list here from his perspective. So his wish list is food, things with hinges, contraband, i.e. the TV remote control, unsupervised house exploration, and more food. So, and then I used this metal tag. I punched some of that Allie Edwards plaid paper and put 23 on there with some thickers, and then on the reverse I journaled about this day. I really wanted to use this card. I liked the way the green played off of this filler card here, and so I just used this as my place to journal. On this 6x8 sheet over here, I decided to draw attention to the date by covering it up. So that's why I went ahead and included this tag here. So this is Christmas Eve. I knew I would have more photos than normal for the next couple of days, but I wanted to keep it all in like one spread. So what I did was I just took a 3x4 page and I cut it in half, so it's technically still a 2-page spread. So this is our annual family Christmas photo. We like to take a photo in front of our tree every Christmas Eve. It's just something my husband came up with. So that's our photo. My son is actually in the middle of having a tantrum here, and I decided to like diffuse the situation by making a weird face. This is just a photo of our stockings. I'm just kind of talking about our traditions here. So the photo hanging the stockings on Christmas Eve, and there's a photo of my husband showing my son how to do that. And then some more traditions. We always have our Christmas Eve service, our candlelit service. So there's just a photo of my candle and a little phrase sticker that says "Joy to the World." Another tradition is that the kids always open their Christmas PJs on Christmas Eve. So we did that. Our Christmas Eve service is late at night, so my son went to church in his pajamas. He was the only one. So here's a picture of just everyone in the sanctuary with their candles, and then I think what I'm going to do is reprint this and kind of put just a little Bible verse down here talking about the birth of Jesus, since for us that's what this whole season is about, so I want to go back and do that. And then I'm just kind of documenting some favorite moments from the day, and those are all of our traditions. This is a family photo in our church foyer of us at night. So on the 25th, I have this 2x2 page that I made myself actually. I used my fuse tool and fused some really crooked squares. It was like the first time I had ever used it, and it took me probably 30 minutes to make this page. So I think, going forward, I might just get like the 2x2 page protector. So I'm echoing that it's the most wonderful time of year sentiment again. This is from the Jasmine Jones mini kit, as well as this floral wreath right here. This was just a photo I had taken of our Christmas lunch with the self-timer on the camera. And then I loved this idea of having just little snippets of our Christmas day. So in the center is this wood veneer tree, and then I broke up the journaling with AM, PM. So in the morning we were at our house and opened presents. And then in the afternoon I went over to my in-laws and, just kind of documented what we did there. And so, opening presents. And then I love this one family photo. It's like the aftermath of presents. On the 26th, we went up to my parents' house and continued our Christmas. And so it was just fortunate that this tree is cute on both sides. So I used some A Beautiful Mess number stickers to document the day. And then I have this habit of always putting a piece of wrapping paper that I used in my scrapbooks, just to kind of document what paper we used that year. And so this year I decided to take the papers from my parents' house and the ones that matched and cutting them into little squares and adhering them to the backs of these so that you could see like the assortment of papers that were used. I did the same thing that I did on the 24th. I wanted to keep it like one big spread, so I took another 4-pocket page and then cut it down in half, and then I used the Be Joyful banner and then layered that star over it with just a couple pictures of my son and then his grandparents. And then this is us as a family that morning, and then I still have to journal here on this log sheet. So what I did was I took a basic gray tab here and then stamped the date, and then I'm just going to kind of keep in here what we did on that day. And then I layered these silver stars around the page. And then this photo is just a picture of my son taken on this day. I thought it was a nice way to end the album with that vest, poor kid. And then I use this transparency here just to kind of break up the very last part of the album. I took the packaging from the mini kit that I got from Jasmine Jones and I glued it down to the back of the album, and then I just put our Christmas cards that we received in the back here so that we could go through. You know, there's some from our family and friends, so just a great place to keep them and not throw them out. So that's it. That's a look at my album. If you guys have any questions or just want to chat, say hello, feel free to leave me a comment below. I really missed you guys and making these videos and hanging out in this space, so I'm really excited to get back on track. So be sure to tune in Saturday for a new Heritage Process video, and I'll see you then. Thanks. Bye.